In this lesson, we are reviewing our factoring polynomials, but then we will come up with a new pattern that we will have for called the difference and sum of cubes. So remember, our first is a common monomial factor. So that means what the GCF, what do they have in common? We always want to look for that first. In this case, it's 8. So when we're going to factor, we're going to take out the 8, and we would have x plus 2. The second thing we looked for was special patterns. And in this case, we had the difference of squares because the x squared and the negative 9 or the 9 are both perfect squares, and there's a minus. So that factors to x plus 3 and x minus 3. With our perfect square trinomial, we could do our x, where we have 9 in the top and 6 in the bottom, and we want to know what two numbers multiply to be 9 but add up to be 6. And since they're exactly the same, we have x plus 3 and x plus 3, or x plus 3 the quantity squared, which is a perfect square trinomial. And the next one is the general. So there is no greatest common factor, there's no special pattern. So if we make our x, we'd have 6 in the top, 8 times c, b in the bottom, which is 5. And what two numbers multiply to be 6 but add up to be 5 would be 2 and 3. So we'd have x plus 2 and x plus 3. So let's take a look at these couple. These are a little bit different because these are to the 4th power. But let's still make our x on this one. A, B, C. What two numbers multiply to be negative 24 but add up to be 5? 8 and negative 3. But this time, what numbers multiply to be x to the 4th? So this time it's going to be x squared and x squared. And we'll have plus 8 and we'll have minus 3. But because they're not perfect squares, the 8 or the 3, we don't have a special pattern, and so that would be our factoring. In the next example, we're going to divide by our greatest common factor, which would be 2x squared. And when we divide by 2x squared, we get x squared minus 9. But we need to continue factoring because we have a special pattern. X squared minus 9 can be x plus 3 and x minus 3. Now we'll look at our two special cases called the sum and difference of cubes. So first we're going to start with the sum of cubes. And it looks complicated, but it's quite simple. The first thing we'll do is we'll take the cube root of a minus the cube root of b cubed. Then we square the a. We multiply the a and the b together, and the sign becomes opposite of what it is in the original problem, and then we square the b. Here's the pattern. What is the cube root of 64x cubed? In other words, what times what times what is 64x cubed? So we have 4x minus the cube root of 8 is 2. Now, to finish the pattern, we take a and we square it. So 4x times 4x is 16x squared. We multiply the two together. 4x times 2 is 8x, and we change the sign to addition. And then we multiply 2 times 2, which is 4. In other words, we square the b. In our next example, we have 8y cubed minus 27. We want to know what the cube root of 8y cubed is. So that's going to be 2y, and the cube root of 27 is negative 3. We're going to square the 2, which is 4y squared. We're going to multiply the 2 together. 2y times 3 is 6y, and change it to addition. And then we're going to square the 3, which is 9. In the previous example, we could have also simplified this by dividing by 8. So if we did that, we'd have 8x cubed minus 1. And that would probably be better. So we'll keep our 8 and then we'll do the special pattern. 8x cubed, the cube root would be 2x, minus the cube root of 1 is 1. A squared would be 4x squared. Multiply the 2 together would be 2x and make it a positive, and square the 1 would be 1. In our next example, we'll do the sum of cubes, and it's the exact same pattern, but it's a plus. The cube root of 8x cubed is 2x, and the cube root of 27 is 3. We square the a value. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Multiply the 2 together. 3 times 2x is 6x, and we change it to a subtraction, and we square the 3, which is 9. In the next example, the cube root of 27x cubed would be 3x, and the cube root of 125 is 5. Square the a. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x, and we'll make it a minus, and 5 times 5 is 25. Now I'd like you to try these 3 on your own using these special patterns, and we will discuss in class if you are confused, but I think that you should be able to follow the pattern.